I love this principle of leverage. Whatever the case may be, the principle here is how can you leverage yourself so that you can do it once and get paid multiple times, or have other people helping to bring that in. Welcome, Income Hackers. This is your host, Ryan G. Wright. This podcast is for individuals and families who are interested in fast-tracking their financial success. You'll hear experts discussing topics like generating a residual cash flow, building wealth through real estate, financial literacy, creating a family legacy, and overcoming your fears. If you get value out of this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It's a big help to me. If somebody's got a kid that's, they're having some struggles with, maybe they're getting into things they shouldn't, what advice would you give them? I know we've got some listeners going through that right now. What would you say to those parents?
I say, first of all, it's never too early to teach your kids the principles of prosperity. And unfortunately, most people teach their kids the principles of poverty or poverty consciousness. We don't have money for that. What do you think? Money grows on trees. We may not be rich, but at least we're honest, right? There's all this. I wrote an entire book on the subject of mind viruses, how we get programmed for lack and limiting beliefs. And the most prevalent ones, of course, are money is bad, rich people are evil, it's spiritual to be poor. So the first thing I tell parents is stop programming your kids with all this garbage. Just because your mother believed that and her mother believed that and her mother or her father believed that, and that's been the negative limiting belief of your family for 27 generations, you don't have to continue the cycle. I am a big believer in leverage. I am a big believer in income diversification. I want to hack anything I can hack, right? If there's a way to do something easier, simpler, faster. Wealth is freedom. Wealth is time. Wealth is security. And so to me, the way you create wealth is you add value and you solve problems. Or if you do both, it's even better. And that's kind of the topic of the Mad Genius book, how to do that. You have to get out of the equation where you're trading time for money.
So for those that maybe are struggling with this concept of leverage, or let's say it was a young kid, I try and do everything like if I'm talking to my 8-year-old, how would you better define leverage?
If you go out and you build a lemonade stand and you sell lemonade, you're trading hours for dollars and you're going to make some money. But if you can get a second lemonade stand on the next block and you convince Jimmy to sell lemonade over there for, whatever percent of what he sells, now you got a little leverage going on. And if you can get a third lemonade stand on Main Street and you can get Mary to agree to work there for a percentage of that, right? And that's leverage. And whether we're talking about lemonade stands in Iowa or hot dog stands in, hot dog carts in Manhattan, or, food trucks or restaurant franchising, licensing your dry cleaners out, anything, if you can get away from that where you don't have to physically do the work, is the first thing I would want to teach to a young person. And then, core, basic foundation is you can work for money or you can have money work for you. Which one would you like to do?
It's usually not ever as good as you think it'll be or as bad as you think it'll be. Lots of times people overestimate and think, oh, I'm going to make millions of dollars on this flip, and they do funny math or whatever the case is, or they're so scared they think they're going to lose everything. And the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. It's usually never as good as you think it'll be, but it's not as bad as you think it'll be. It's somewhere in the middle, and even the best of plans just don't matter when it comes down to the reality of what somebody's willing to pay for something or a business or anything else. I see a lot of people that get into business and they don't know what the end outcome is or what the end goal is. It's like, I want to make money. Well, why do you want to make money? Well, there's that old story of the guys that go down to the fishing village and say, man, I wish I had the life like you have. Well, why do you work so hard? Oh, I want to make a bunch of money. Well, why do you want to make a bunch of money? Because I want to buy a place on the beach. Well, what do you want to do on the place on the beach? I want to go fishing every day. It's like, well, I go fishing every day and I don't have a bunch of money. So it's like, what's the outcome? Like, what do you really want out of this? So I think that's a huge takeaway that income hackers can listen to. And then secondly, I love this principle of leverage. For you as a listener, you may be wanting to get into real estate or rentals or flips, or you might want to get into creating information, or maybe even want to start a restaurant. Whatever the case may be, the principle here is how can you leverage yourself so that you can do it once and get paid multiple times, or have other people helping to bring that in. Start with the plan, know what you really want, make sure you really want it. Making money for the sake of money doesn't do a whole lot of good and doesn't fulfill.
You don't need education, and you don't need a big investment, and you don't need connections. Doesn't matter that you didn't go to Stanford and have a bunch of alumni who can, get you in the door, and it doesn't matter that you couldn't get accepted at Harvard. To me, it's one of the few areas left in the free enterprise system where the average person without big education or money or connections can still practice leverage. Ed Sheeran, he writes a song and he gets money every time it gets streamed, right? He's got leverage. Madonna has it. Lady Gaga has it. J.K. Rowling did it when she wrote Harry Potter book. But if you're not an author like J.K. Rowling, if you can't write songs like Lady Gaga, well, direct selling is something I think pretty much everybody could learn how to do.
That's great. I'm a big proponent. I'm teaching my boys how to sell door to door. So I'm like, hey, if you know how to sell, you can always put food on the table, no matter what market, no matter what's happening in the economy, no matter what. If you know how to sell, back to your direct selling principles, what you're talking about brings a whole new degree of leverage to that by having others help to sell as well. So
if you got value out of our discussion today, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It's a big help to me. Also, please share with a friend. Nothing is more valuable than creating financial friends who are like-minded. You can do that by inviting them to listen to the Income Hacker podcast. Bye for now, and make it a very profitable day.